Registrar, University Librarian, Provost of the College of Medicine, Provost of the Postgraduate College, Dean, Faculty of Veterinary Medicine, Deans of other faculties and of students, Directors of institutes and centers, Heads of departments, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. The 449th University Ibadan Inaugural Lecture will be delivered by Professor J.O Adejinmi of the Department of Veterinary, Parasitology and Entomology on behalf of the Faculty of Veterinary Medicine. Born on 7 July 1956 at Ode, Kwara State, with the family of late Mr. Amos Omileke Adejinmi and Mrs. Eunice Onilola Adejinmi. He hails from Oku in Oduoti, local government area of Osun State. Young Adejinmi had his primary school education at St. Michael's Primary School, Osun State, and Ekwa Primary School, Okeode, Kwara State, from 1961 to 1968. He attended Mayfair Memorial College, Oruagu, from 1969 to 1973, before he proceeded to Titco College, Igwe, Kogi State, Egbe, Kogi State, for his higher school certificate, which he completed in 1975. He had a stint as a teacher at Ilofa Grammar School Ilofa and Okeya High School Okeya both in Kwara State. He gained admission into the University of Ibadan to study veterinary medicine in 1977 and graduated with a Doctor of Veterinary Medicine DVM degree in 1983. He served on the National Youth Service Corps NYSC scheme as veterinary surgeon at Comfort and Stella Farms, Abua, River State between December 1983 and November 1984. Thereafter, he worked as farm manager and veterinary surgeon at Namik Farms Limited, Oko, Kwara State, from 1985 to 1988. He was employed into the civil service of Old Oyo State as veterinary officer in the Ministry of Agriculture and Natural Resources in 1989. In 1992, he was awarded a one-year Commonwealth Overseas Development Administration Chair Scholarship for MSc degree in Tropical Veterinary Medicine at the University of Edinburgh, Scotland, United Kingdom, which he completed in 1993. He rose to the grade of Consultant Veterinary Medicine in 1995. He obtained MSc and PhD degrees in Veterinary Parasitology from this university in 1996 and 2005, respectively. Then Dr. J.O Adejinmi joined the services of the Department of Veterinary Microbiology and Parasitology, now Department of Parasitology and Entomology of this university as lecturer in one on 2 January 1998. He was promoted to the grade of senior lecturer on 1 October 2001, reader 1 October 2005, and professor with effect from 1 October 2011. He has published in both national and international journals and has 60 papers to his credit and has supervised the research projects of many undergraduate as well as postgraduate students and is currently supervising or co-supervising 5 PhD students. Within the university, Professor Adejinmi has served the university in various capacities as sectional coordinator, veterinary parasitology for undergraduate DVM program from 1998 to 2006. Member, Veterinary Medicine Field Trip and Ceremonial Committees, 1999 to 2002. Member, Faculty of Veterinary Medicine Finance Committee, 2011 to 2013. Chairman, Faculty of Veterinary Medicine and Animal Committee, 2014 date. Member of Senate, 2000 to 2002, 2005 to 2009, and as professor from 2014 to date. Assistant Warden Melanie Hall, 2002 to 2003. Warden Melanie Hall, 2003 to 2007. Acting Head, Department of Veterinary Microbiology and Parasitology, 2007 to 2009. Head, Department of Veterinary Microbiology and Parasitology, 2014 to 2017. Head, Clinical Microbiology and Parasitology, Veterinary Teaching Hospital, 2014 to 2017. Head, Clinical Parasitology and Entomology, Veterinary Teaching Hospital, 2017 to 2018. Faculty Representative, University Appointment and Promotion Committee, 2015 till date. He is also Chief Consultant Parasitologist, Veterinary Teaching Hospital, 2014 and member panel C of the Senior Staff Disciplinary Committee, 2013 till date, just to mention a few. Outside the university, Professor Adejinmi was a member of Senate Board of College of Veterinary Surgeons Nigeria, 2007 to 2011, visiting lecturer and acting head, Department of Veterinary Parasitology and Entomology, University of Agriculture, Makurdi, 2010 to 2011. He was a visiting lecturer in the Department of Veterinary Microbiology and Parasitology, Federal University of Agriculture, Abeokuta, external examiner in Veterinary Parasitology and Entomology for undergraduate and postgraduate students to University of Maiduguri, Ahmadu Bello University, Zaria, University of Ilorin, Usman Dan Fodio University, Sokoto. External assessor for promotion of candidates to professorial cadre for Ahmadu Bello University, Zaria, University of Abuja, University of Agriculture, Makurdi, University of Calabar, and the Federal University of Agriculture, Ike. Professor Adejinmi is a recipient of many scholarships and grants, including Kwara State Government Scholarship to study veterinary medicine at the University of Ibadan, 1978 and 1983, Commonwealth Overseas Development Administration Chair Scholarship, 1992 to 1993, Senate Research Grant, 1998, and John D. and Catherine D. MacArthur Foundation Grant for staff development in 2005 and 2006 session. He is a member of many learned societies, including Nigerian Veterinary Medical Association, Graduate Association of the University of Edinburgh, and Nigerian Society of Parasitology and Public Health. He became a member College of Veterinary Surgeons Nigeria in 2004 and a fellow of the same body in 2016. Professor Adejinmi is married to his amiable wife, Dr. Olufunmilayo Oladike Adejinmi, and the union is blessed with God. It is my privilege to call on Professor Adejinmi to deliver his lecture titled Parasites, Pedestal Threat to Public Vigour. Professor Adejinmi.
Vice Chancellor. The Vice Chancellor, Deputy Vice Chancellor Administration, Deputy Vice Chancellor Academic, Deputy Vice Chancellor Research Innovation and Strategic Partnerships, Registrar, Librarian, Professor of the College of Medicine, Dean of the Faculty of Veterinary Medicine, Dean of the Postgraduate School, Deans of other faculties and students, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. I'm an epitome of the faithfulness, mercy, and extreme grace of God. The reason I can stand before this August gathering to give the 449th inaugural lecture of this university and the 23rd in the series for the 2017-2018 academic session on behalf of the Faculty of Veterinary Medicine. This inaugural lecture is the 49th from the Faculty of Veterinary Medicine and the first from the newly created Department of Veterinary Parasitology and Entomology after the split from the current department. It is the next from the Department of Veterinary Technology and Parasitology and fifth in the Veterinary Parasitology unit. The first inaugural lecture from the Veterinary Parasitology unit was delivered by Professor J.O Adejinmi with the title Parasites, Scourge of Man and Livestock. The second inaugural lecture titled Parasites, Killing Us Softly was delivered by Professor A.F. Boyade. The third lecture was delivered by Professor O.A. Akibade, all of blessed memory, with the title Parasites, the Bottom Line. The fourth lecture was delivered on 2nd November 2006 by Professor Vigour. The title of his lecture was The Tapestry of Parasitism. The title of today's lecture is Parasites, Pedestal Threats to Public Vigour. In my early years in primary and secondary schools, my parents used to have local chickens and turkeys which were normally held together. At a point, the turkeys having become big started to die one after the other, and nothing happened to the chickens that were so small in size compared to the turkeys. The only visible sign was these storms and waters. The question was, what was it that would kill the big, well-bred turkeys and spare the small chickens? Will it be a demon that had the affinity for turkeys and not chickens? Will it be a demon? Will it be some individuals in the neighborhood that do not want us to make progress? These were some of the thoughts and questions that agitated our minds back then. We could not do anything to arrest the situation then, as that was the era. Veterinary doctors and higher lieutenants were not so common in Kwara State, and the few ones available then was being stationed in the state capital. It was the time of completing my secondary education and at the time of choosing the subject combination for courses in the university. The idea of animal medicine came into my mind as a flash, and I mentioned it to my classmates. On completion of the high school certificate program, seeking admission to the university began. It was the time the universities were autonomous and admitting candidates. So what to apply to the university's office of choice? On looking through the list of courses in the University of Ibadan, I did not see animal medicine as a course. I only saw animal science. Fortunately, one of my seniors in secondary school who was already an undergraduate at the university was around and told me that it was actually veterinary medicine that the university offered and not what I referred to as animal medicine. From then on, seeking admission to the university for me was veterinary medicine and no other course. I could not enter the university through direct entry because I was offered the second choice of course in sciences, which I rejected. I started to write the professional examination in second year and came in as a preliminary student to study veterinary medicine by June course. My aim of studying veterinary medicine was not only to unravel the mystery behind the death of our turkeys, but also to be a livestock farmer, which in my naivety at that time were extending from postgraduate studies. I did not understand the word of God, which says, "Oh Lord, I know that the way of man is not in himself. It is not in man that worketh to direct his steps." Jeremiah 10:23. Because of the death of our turkeys was unraveled in my 400 level as a paraclinical student of veterinary medicine, when we started to study parasitology in greater details. So then I discovered that entomology or enterohepatitis, a parasitic disease of turkeys caused by Pseudomonas meningitis, was the likely cause of death of the turkeys. Birds or chickens are reservoir hosts, and that was why our chickens were not affected. The transmission of this parasite will cause by eggs of the parasitic nematode, Entomology, the sticker nematode, which is also transmitted by arthropods. Mr. Vice, this lecture will focus on three aspects. 1. Parasites as threats to profitable animal production and animal well-being. 2. My contributions. 3. Human parasites as threats to public vigour. Parasites are threats to public production of human being. What are parasites? Many eminent parasitologists have defined parasites in several ways, but I would like to adopt the definition given by Paramanda 2011 with some modifications. Parasites are organisms that are still metabolically dependent on other organisms and in return cause damages and unwanted deaths of hosts. The metabolic dependence may be diverse, partial, or total at certain stages, but all the life associates until death do them part. Known as parasites, the benefiting organism and the host, the non-benefiting organism. Animal parasites generally include termites, protozoa, and arthropods, and they are categorized as endoparasites, those that rested on the inside of the host. These are termites and protozoa. Ectoparasites, those that rested on the external surface of hosts. Mr. Patterson, I would like to highlight a few out of 2 million parasites that have constituted a threat to domestic animal production of one revenue. Termites such as foodborne associated tinea sodium, Trichinella spiralis, Opisthotys piperelli, Pranotis sinensis, and Scopsoma species can be spread from animals to humans, and Canistomum caninum and Toxocaracales in infected dogs are the causes of Xylella larva and Cutaneous larva migrans in humans respectively. The presence of seeds and developmental stages of tinea and Echinococcus species represent a vital reduction in the space available for functional capacity of organs. For instance, the pressure exerted by single cyst on the grain of sheep produces a disease known as heat or stagnancy, characterized by incoordination, ataxia, collapse, and death. Protozoa parasites such as Giardia and Cryptosporidium species may cause gastrointestinal illness in children and immunocompromised individuals. Leishmania, because of leishmaniasis in dogs and cats, infect an average of 12 million people worldwide annually. Plasmodium species, because of malaria in humans and birds, have been reported to cause more than 1 million deaths, mostly children, and 300 to 500 million clinical cases of malaria are reported annually. In the past 15 years, more than 20% of cross-national products of African countries was appeased by malaria alone. Ticks are vectors of several protozoal diseases of animals and man, and are also known to cause anemia, mechanical damage, irritation, inflammation, hypersensitivity, toxicosis, paralysis, and reproductivity. Scabies mites, faculty scabies, are worldwide in distribution. They are transmitted by contact, fall into the skin, and later spread into the rest of the body. The uterus, women's breast, and external genitals may be involved. Fleas such as rectal flea, Pseudopsida chorus was identified as the vector of body plague that constantly recorded pandemics in human history. Black flies, Salmonella species, among Yoruba, the vector of Onchocerca is the cause of onchocercosis or total blindness in humans. Onchocercosis is the second leading cause of blindness in the world, with 26% of affected people living in 13 countries in sub-Saharan Africa, while the remainder lives in 6 countries in Latin America. African human trypanosomosis, caused by Trypanosoma cruzi gravidae, and Trypanosoma cruzi resistance threatens about 60 million people in 36 countries of sub-Saharan Africa, while African animal trypanosomosis, caused by Trypanosoma vivax, Trypanosoma cruzi, and Trypanosoma cruzi, has been estimated to be 5 billion annually, including livestock production losses and control costs. 2. My contributions. Mr. Vice Chancellor, I have carried out studies in all 3 areas of veterinary parasitology, namely epidemiology, zoology, and entomology. However, for the purpose of this lecture, the following are some of my contributions. Studies on lemons and protozoa. Most large cities in the world have zoological gardens and wildlife parks. Apart from insights from relaxation and sources of generative income from tourism, endangered species are also bred in captivity. These areas also serve as places for educating the public about the principles of ecology. It is, however, interesting to know that most of the studies on zoological gardens have been directed towards the behavior and welfare of the animals, while individual studies have been conducted on zookeepers, whose vital roles in ensuring proper rehabilitation and stability of the animals in an environment different from their natural habitat cannot be overemphasized. On this note, we carried out a preliminary investigation of hemiplegia and protozoal species of the zookeepers and animals at the University of Zoological Garden, Adejinmi and Ibadan 449th Inaugural. zookeepers who have been in zoological gardens or nursery garden for 5 years and above are keeping the master bottles and their pieces contained bottles are collected thoroughly. The bigger samples were processed in the Veterinary Parasitology laboratory for any program 2006 and 2007 using standard pathological methods. The bigger sample of 7 zookeepers were positive for any program in 2006. Of these, 5 bigger samples were positive for Ascaris nigricans and can discover regularly and Tranquilus tigura, while Entomology experimental regardless were found in bigger samples from 3 zookeepers. Both 2006 and then October were found in only 1 bigger sample. The samples from the remaining 4 zookeepers were negative. The sentinel study carried out on the zoo animals showed that out of the 20 animal species examined for parasites, the 9 human primates, monkeys and baboons, have more parasites than other animals. The presence of Ascaris nigricans and Tranquilus tigura affirmed the possibility of transmission of parasites from humans to animals and vice versa, since the frequency of direct contact between humans, zookeepers and visitors and non-human primates is higher than with other animals that are less approachable. Adejinmi and 2008. Mr. Vice Chancellor, this study supports the suggestion that in communities of closely related species, cross-species interaction may be an important source of protection risk. Zoonotic and anthropoonotic transmission may occur and be promoted by various interactions in a setting like the zoo. This study, therefore, emphasizes the need to pay a closer attention to the health of zoo animals and their handlers in order to mitigate disease transmission. It further elucidated the role of zookeepers and animal handlers in disease transmission, since they are responsible for providing feed, water, and cleaning of the environment. Based on our findings, we suggested periodic surveillance, improved hygienic practices, and a well-adjusted anti-parasitic prophylactic program for both the zoo workers and the animals in order to eliminate or at least reduce the risk of cross infections. Dr. Emmett Parasite of some wildlife in J.O. Over 80% of Nigerians depend on wild animal meat, referred to as bushmeat, as their main source of animal protein and income, particularly in rural areas. However, parasitic diseases pose considerable zoonotic threats to humans who consume bushmeat. Most hunted wild animals are reservoirs of zoonotic hermits, which are transmitted through improperly processed and half-cooked meat. This prompted us to study any parasite from the wildlife in J.O Nigeria, Adejinmi and Emepe, 2011. The total of Nigeria particular samples collected from Kerats, Tyrannosaurus invarianus, and grey tigers, Sidicapra gremia, respectively, were examined for hermits using pathological methods. Of the Nigeria particular samples examined from Kerats and antelopes, somewhere over 78 and 7, respectively, were positive for hermit over. For Kerats, somewhere over 71, were the most frequently observed, followed by Samudroides 38, Trichuris 33, Seston women, and Ascaris 5. For the tigers or antelopes, somewhere over 6 were the most frequently encountered, followed by Trichuris 4, Ascaris 2, and Seston 1. Some blemish over were not detected in the bigger samples examined from grey tigers. No dermatoma were detected in any of the samples examined. Grey rats carried greater warm bodies than grey tigers. Mr. Vice Chancellor, the results of this study showed that grey rats and antelopes may be very important in the epidemiology of comitosis in domestic animals and man, because these animals are frequently in contact with domestic animals such as cattle, sheep, and goats. They can also contaminate farm crops, vegetables, and vegetation with feces and urine containing eggs and larvae of hermits. Another similarly dangerous contamination, Mr. Vice Chancellor, is the possibility of direct transmission of hermits to humans through the handling and consumption of meat that has been properly processed by hunters, hawkers, and processors of bushmeat. Some elite urban dwellers prefer the Western barbecue style to dry bushmeat, in which the meat is half cooked, a practice that is harmful as they are mainly exposed to parasitic infections. Based on our findings, we recommend health education to hunters, hawkers, processors, and consumers of bushmeat in whatever form. Studies on this. Our team studied the public health importance of market meat exposed to rabies flies and airborne microorganisms, Akimbade, Assam, and Adejinmi, 1984. Flies are collected from meat stores, on or around meat, and from miracle skips close to the meat stores. Our two main markets will be assembled in Ibadan. Sterile swab samples are also taken randomly from exposed meat, and meat tables and trapped flies from each site are counted and identified. Bacterial isolates obtained were characterized morphologically, and further identification was carried out using standard methods. Confirmatory serological testing using coagulation tests and polyvalent antisera was also performed. 4 different species of flies, Musica domestica, Phania canicularis, Pilicoides, and Crassomania species were trapped in both markets except Crassomania species which was not found at the market. Escherichia coli and Salmonella species were the bacteria isolated from flies, tables, and meat surfaces in both markets. Mr. Vice Chancellor, our results showed that man runs the risk of diseases and possible death from infected meat purchased at the market stores. All the bacteria isolated from meat and their immediate environment are pathogenic, meaning that the atmosphere to which the meat was exposed is laden with various bacteria, some of which are potential pathogens. Butcher who accidentally has a cut runs the risk of infection as does the buyer. Human risk is further enhanced when abattoir meat is transported in unregulated vehicles and sold at market stores, usually with heavy speed. This allows the flies, agents of transmission, to have access to meat in addition to airborne microorganisms. Consumption of salt meat results in constipation, diarrhea, and death. Based on our results, we recommended high standard of hygiene at the slaughterhouses, meat stores, and prompt removal of refugees to avoid the bleeding of flies. Meat and meat products should be transported in regulated vehicles and kept in freezers at the stores. Education of consumers on meat handling laws, boiling of meat at high temperatures, and for long time we also eliminate risk. That's why we do not recommend shop well meat shop for every one to consume some meat. There's another gap in the study of infected species in Nigeria, and this makes it impossible to determine the possibility of their evolutionary change due to climatic and ecological factors. To bridge this gap, our research team conducted a taxonomic study of infected species in Nigeria. J.O Adejinmi and Ibadan 2016. The total of 1,755 adult infected species were collected from Ibadan using light suction traps. Permanent 9 months of collected images were made and insects identified. 15 species of Pedestal are identified in this study. These are Pedestal nicola, Pedestal angelini, Pedestal stoma, Pedestal focis, Pedestal cutis, Pedestal frutis, Pedestal pili, Pedestal mysticus, Pedestal body, Pedestal thorax, Pedestal navi, Pedestal spectator, Pedestal male, Pedestal penis, and Pedestal brusa. 4 of these species, Pedestal stoma, Pedestal cutis, and Pedestal frutis, and Pedestal pili, were reported for the first time in Nigeria, thus bringing the total number of infected species in Nigeria to 37. Mr. Vice Chancellor, this study confirmed the presence of a number of infected species recorded by previous workers in Nigeria and also identified the presence of new species not previously reported. Study on dog ticks. Study on dog ticks, they are in Yoruba. Mr. Vice Chancellor, exotic ticks, the Picaparous sanguineus and Maphosatis lichi constitute 99% of dog ticks in Nigeria and are widespread in all the ecological zones of the country, Adejinmi 2005. In recent times, more and more people are developing interest in dog keeping, especially the exotic breeds of dogs, since they are valuable pets. These ticks are responsible for severe losses caused either by the effect of the ticks through bites, blood loss, paralysis, skin damage, secondary bacterial infections, mobility and mortality caused by the disease transmitted. We evaluated the role of dog ticks on the transmission of bacterial isolates through all these developmental stages in order to gather information on their micropatterns using microbiological methods. Adejinmi and Ibadan 2018. Two species of bacteria, Staphylococcus aureus and Staphylococcus epidermidis, were isolated from the human form. Sanguineus, adult, eggs, and larvae, where only one species, Staphylococcus aureus, was isolated from the human form. Maphosatis lichi, adult, eggs, and larvae. From the transmission experiment, using 6 New Zealand white rabbits which had not been exposed to tick infestation, the same species of bacteria were isolated from immunity of adult, eggs, and larvae of ticks that employed on rabbits, similar to the ticks which fed on dogs. These species of bacteria were consistent in all the stages of the sanguineus and H. lichi. They were also consistent in all the stages of ticks that fed on the experimental rabbits. However, no bacteria were isolated from all stages of ticks that fed on the control significance of this finding lies in the fact that maintenance and transmission of bacteria by all stages of ticks will complicate the clinical picture presented by tick infestation on animals, particularly dogs, since it may imply that the pyrexia noticed as a result of parasitism, for example, canine babesiosis, may also have some level of contribution by bacteria harbored by the ticks. There is also the tendency to worsen the problem in the dogs by the release of bacterial toxins that will lead to septicemia in such clinical cases. This study is the first report in Nigeria to demonstrate transmission of bacteria through all the developmental stages of Parasitology and HPGDG in dogs. Adejinmi studies on the biologics of ixolytics infesting dogs in Ibadan, southwestern Nigeria. The first study was on the effect of temperature on the production capacity of a dog female dog ticks, Parasitology and HPGDG, and attractivity of their eggs. Adejinmi and J.O 2011. An understanding of the effects of temperature on the life cycle of these ticks is important to unravel their current and potential geographic distribution, seasonality, and mortality factors. Information on the effect of temperature and timing of biological process are also important in determining the success of control measures against these ticks. Our study revealed that the short period of the biological process of Parasitology and HPGDG increased as the incubation temperature dropped from 30 degrees centigrade to 15 degrees centigrade. The duration of incubation at 15 degrees centigrade was the shortest for the two ticks. The mean number of eggs laid by the biological process of Parasitology and HPGDG decreased as the incubation temperature dropped from 30 degrees centigrade to 15 degrees centigrade. However, no eggs were laid by both species of tick at 7 degrees centigrade. The study on the effect of temperature and temperature of tick eggs showed that there was no action of the eggs of the two species when maintained at 15 degrees centigrade. The eggs of HPGDG took longer time to eclode at 20 degrees, 25 and 30 degrees centigrade. The duration of hatching of the eggs of HPGDG was significantly longer than those of Parasitology. The mortality rates of eggs of HPGDG were higher than those of Parasitology at 20, 25 and 30 degrees centigrade maintenance temperatures. The mortality rates of both species were 100% at 15 degrees centigrade, while 100% mortality rate was observed for eggs of HPGDG at 37 degrees centigrade. Our results indicated that each climatic condition is bound to have its own distinct effect on the biology of Parasitology and HPGDG. We established that temperatures between 20 and 30 degrees centigrade are optimal and most favorable to these ticks, to this species of tick, apart from moisture. This has relevant implication for tick population control. Adejinmi and J.O 2011. It is evident from this study that there are differences between these two species of ticks in their resistance to the deleterious effect of extreme temperatures. The tolerance and the order range of temperatures by adult females and eggs of Parasitology coupled with the fact that they produce more eggs than HPGDG explain why it is more abundant compared with HPGDG in the southwestern Nigeria. However, the two species of ticks will grow throughout the year. Hence, the implementation of successive control measures against these ticks must be both practical and strategic. The second study was on the effect of water flooding on the reproduction capacity of the adult females and activity of their eggs. Eggs of dog tick with Parasitology and Parasitology. Adejinmi 2011. The study showed that the adult females of Parasitology oviposited when flooded for a period less than 48 hours, whereas the adult females of HPGDG oviposited when flooded for a period less than 6 hours. The ovulation periods of the adult females of both species were longer than those of the controls if are not given water treatment. The ovulation period of Parasitology and HPGDG flooded for 1 to 4 hours were shorter and longer than their controls respectively. Also, the number of eggs laid by the two species flooded for the same period of time was significantly lower than their respective controls. Durations of hatching of eggs of both species flooded between 1 hour and 12 hours were longer than their respective controls. In both species, attractability decreased as flooding time increased. Percentage attractability was negatively correlated with flooding time and highly significant. The results of this investigation on attractability of eggs also showed that flooding for up to 5 days did not affect the survival of eggs of the two tick species. This suggests that flooding will have to be very prolonged for more than 5 days to have a deleterious effect on the eggs. It is therefore concluded that both the adult females and eggs of the Parasitology tolerated estimated total flooding more than those of HPHPT. It also helps in understanding the population dynamics of these ticks in rainforest areas where they are evidenced. Adejinmi 2003. The existence of related rhythm of population insects are meant has been established and that has been proved to be an important factor. Mr. Vice Chancellor, sir, this led us to study the effect of photoperiodic regime and helping disturbance on the population pattern of these key ticks of dogs to determine if indeed an occupational rhythm existed or not, and the possibility of employing it for the control of these ticks. The results show that there were no significant differences in the mean reproduction period, duration of oviposition, and the number of eggs laid by Parps and Venus and HPHPT in all the photoperiodic conditions. The oviposition period of Parps and Venus and HPHPT sampled every 6 hours in the stock group was significantly lower than those sampled every 24 hours on the stock group. The gorge adult females of Parps and Venus and HPHPT laid more eggs during photophase than during photophase, respectively, suggesting that both species exhibited ovipositional rhythm. The ovipositional patterns under continuous darkness for 24 hours and continuous light for 24 hours were characterized by fluctuating peaks of egg laying which did not follow any obvious pattern or rhythm. While in photoperiodic conditions, there were peaks of oviposition with more obvious frequency patterns of both species. Mr. Vice Chancellor, this observation has implications for the control of these ticks, which are vectors of canine babesiosis and ehrlichiosis in Nigeria, and which constitute about 99% of dog ticks added in 2005. Since these ticks lay higher number of eggs during darkness, photophase, it means higher number of eggs will be laid during the night under natural conditions, and higher number of eggs will be available in crevices, cracks, corners, and other dark places in the dog pen early in the morning. This is because at this time of the day, the greatest yield of eggs and adults will be achieved. 34. In companion animals, particularly dogs, the main method of control of ticks and in which reliance has been placed is the use of chemicals referred to as acaricides. Some of the currently available chemicals in use against tick infestation, ticks infesting dogs are Amicas, Daxeton, Fripolin, Azoton, and Agamectin. These are either used as tick bath or in form of powder as drugs for on dogs. However, these acaricides have suffered from the number of drawbacks, including the development of resistance and concerns over human and environmental safety. We therefore evaluated the effect of sodium chloride solution on the operation capacity of endocrine finis and adaptability of eggs of dog teeth in Kevelos and Venus and natural utility, with the aim of developing effective, environmentally friendly, affordable, acceptable, and practicable control measures against these ticks by the 2010. Our study demonstrated that encouraged finis of Parps and Venus and HPHPT did not oviposit in saturated sodium chloride solution throughout the periods of exposure by immersion. The percentage attribute of eggs of both species after exposure to 2, 5, 10, 30, and 60% sodium chloride solutions were lower than their respective controls. Percentage adaptability decreased as the concentration of solution increased, with no action of eggs in saturated sodium chloride solution. The employed adult females and the eggs of Parps and Venus and HPHPT did not survive in 60% and saturated sodium chloride solution. Mr. Vice Chancellor, the implication of these findings is that saturated sodium chloride solution could be an effective medicine of controlling dog ticks. To achieve this, concentrated sodium chloride solution could be sprayed into cracks, crevices, and surroundings of kennels in place of the usual method of standard spraying of dog kennels very early in the morning. Since our previous study of photoperiodic regime on operation pattern of dog ticks in 2010 showed that higher number of eggs will be available in the morning. It is therefore recommended that an all-year-round kennel brand wash will be adopted for controlling these ticks, since Parps and Venus and HPHPT are prevalent throughout the year. The cost benefit of this method of control is yet to be determined in order to justify its practical use on a large scale. However, it is clear that over-dependence on imported acaricides will drastically reduce in Nigeria and other developing countries if this method is integrated into the overall policy of control of ticks infesting dogs. Study of Anopheles can be vector of African malaria. Malaria, caused by Plasmodium falciparum, transmitted by Anopheles gambia, remains a major public health problem in most sub-Saharan African countries, accounting for more than 1 million deaths, mostly children, and 300 to 500 million clinical cases are reported annually. The advent of recombinant DNA technology paved way for the creation of new generation of pesticides as well as the control of insect vectors. It is now possible to modify a genome and create a transgenic vector with an objective of controlling the vectors by way of reduced reproductive potential or better competence and increased vector susceptibility to existing control measures. One innovative method is to genetically modify mosquitoes using genetic engineering technologies in such a way as to permanently alter standing populations of mosquitoes so that they are incapable of serving as vectors of parasites and pathogens. Mr. Vice Chancellor, the Staff Development Fellowship Grant from John D. and Ketiti Makato Foundation afforded me the opportunity to join a research team at the Center for Persistent Research for Technology Institute, University of Maryland, USA, to study topi and IS-3TC1 originated and possible elements in the African malaria mosquito, Nobody's Gambia, Subramani, Akala, Adejinmi, and Old Doctor 2008. IS-3TC1 originated are diverse and abstract intelligences. The African malaria mosquito, Nobody's Gambia, contains organic families of IS-3TC1 originated, although few have been studied in quantity. The objectives of the study were to examine the dynamics of topi elements in an organic population. Topi elements were sampled from various distinct populations of anomalous gambia from East Africa, Kisumu, Malindi, in Kenya, Senegal in Tanzania, Uvela in Zambia, and West Africa, Pakipogi, Nigeria, and evaluated with respect to property number, logical capacity and social size of capacity person. Our findings show that topi and topi elements were abundant and highly diverse. Elements from mosquitoes collected in Nigeria were topi 2 elements, and those from Zambia were topi 1 elements. Of the 49 topi transposes open leading phase sequence not found to be identified. Intact elements with complete transposes open leading phase were common, although based on the social side of capacity frequency data, it appeared that genetic drift was the major force acting on this IS-3TC1 marinated elements. Topi 3 elements were not recovered from many of the population sample in this study and appear to be rare elements in another Gambia, possibly due to the recent introduction. Taken together, the data presented in this study support the idea that topi 1 to 2 elements are long-time residents of this anomalous Gambia lineage that have not experienced high levels of transition. This finding has implications for the use of these transposable elements as deep-dive agents for moving antiplasmodium transgenes into the populations of anomalous Gambia. Mr. Vice Chancellor, based on our observation of topi 2 elements in all anomalous Gambia mosquito sample from Pakistan, Nigeria, we made an effort to submit an application to a proposal for Cooperative International Research Collaboration Award (PACA) before the 21 May 2007 deadline with Professor J.O and I, as co-principal investigators. Our aim was to investigate the status of topi 2 elements in anomalous Gambia mosquitoes in Nigeria, with the possibility of employing it as gene drive with these transgenic mosquitoes. Same day, at the time we were about to submit the proposal, my host called me, said, and I quote, "Johnson, I don't think you will be able to carry out this work in Nigeria for now because of the huge pesticides in some parts of the country. We should not take grant money for research work we will not be able to carry out." Mr. Vice Chancellor, Professor Okoka's fear in 2007 is not justified considering the level of insecurity in our country today, which has become higher again with only Southwest relatively safe. This was our opportunity to conduct multi-kind research towards controlling malaria and endemic disease in Nigeria was lost. The third and the last aspect of this lecture, human parasites as threats to public health. Mr. Vice Chancellor, I have over the years worked with keen interest and experience in all species of my state, and I have discovered that some human beings have turned themselves into parasites. These small parasites are the greatest threats to public health, and they have the following characteristics. They deny and oppose obvious truths. They are selfish, greedy, and arrogant. They are neck deep in perversion and encourage others to do the same. And if you do not agree with them, you become their enemy. They do not have regard for the rule of law. Their appetite for wealth is insatiable. These small parasites, like parasites of animals, can be classified into entoparasites and ectoparasites. The entoparasites are those that are within Nigeria. They are homegrown. The ectoparasites are those that are outside Nigeria. They are invaders from far and near countries. They come under different names like Boko Haram, Fulani Bandits, jihadists, religious and tribal militias. They also come in form of fake foreign consultants and businessmen and women, in most cases in collaboration of universe with endoparasites. These parasites are also be further divided into hyperparasites and lower parasites. The hyperparasites, these are men and women factors. They are the privileged Jews that are led 1% of the Nigerian population. They are corruptors and children of corrupt. The thieves and rich their victims. The lower parasites are the less privileged majority in society. They exist under all sorts of high human organizations and self-appointed civil society groups, many of them medicals, that are available to hire, and others almost fully dependent on ill-motivated sources, the hyperparasites. They are the ones that make our oppressors, heroes and heroines. They come under different names like Mr. Export, Governor A. Banda, and Senator Vice Autonomy, and Adele Ayat to do the business of the hyperparasite. Without one parasite, and harmless that make them difficult for the common man and neither allow them to move freely during the day or nor allow them to sleep with their two eyes closed at night. Mr. Vice Chancellor, permit me to share my encounter with one parasite. On the completion of the mandatory NSC program, I returned to Ibadan and the January 25, my brother Parasitology asked me to join in establishing an integrated livestock farm, Navi Farms Limited, at Oko, Kwara State. The farm which included value addition cottage industries for farm produce and livestock products in its feasibility study was doing very well, and this was acknowledged by the then general manager Nigeria Basin. In his words, over 30 years as agriculturists have not seen a farm as successful as this in the first year of operation. However, 4 years later, thieves, robbers, numbering almost nothing, invaded the farm in the dead of night and carted away almost all valuables and served as the lifewire of the farm. With the advent of the structural adjustment program of the then military government, he could not restore the farm because of the soaring prices of goods and services. He had to lay off the 20 members of the farm. As the manager, I also had to seek employment elsewhere. This was how an integrated livestock farm, which today will have been able to employ about 2,000 workers, was wiped out of existence by these human parasites, thieves. Mr. Vice Chancellor, these human parasites are known and are called different names in different colors. To the ordinary Nigerian masses, they are thieves, armed robbers. To the literate society, they are fraudsters, embezzlers, rogues, usurpers. While in the political circle, they are locusts, grasshoppers, hopping from one place to the other, jackass, hyenas, unprincipled, all government in power. These human parasites institutions, some of them are members of the political, public, and business elites, like thieves where they got in the blood of their host and become to 100 times their normal weight. These human parasites are fully employed with naira and other foreign currencies through their mental waste and basic eating of our collective patrimony. To the extent that many of them are economically over a billion times their normal weight. The consequences of their actions, which is massive unemployment of our youth, unrecruited clinics and hospitals, dilapidated primary and secondary schools, polytechnics, colleges and universities without facilities, bad roads, disease-agent breeding environments, lack of electric power supply and pipeline water, deaths on the roads, at hospitals and maternity centers, outside the militants, kidnapping and robberies, coupled with murderers, rapists, ritualists. These are also direct products of this institutionalized culture of parasitism, which literally means beauty. These parasites are conditioned on the citizens of Nigeria, abject poverty, deprivation, hunger, and hopelessness. They are demons against progress in our institutions. They have plunged Nigeria deeper into the jungle of animal kingdom, overwhelmed by selfishness, greed, indiscipline, insensitivity, corruption, avarice, and mindless violence. This insatiate parasitism has resulted into violent repercussions that are staring at us all in the face. To worsen the situation, our country's constitution and becoming effective in fighting this avoidable systemic level of parasitism. These human parasites have been gloriously turning our democracy to parasitocracy. Government of parasites, like parasites, these parasites follow. The land of Nigeria are close to some addition. Designed by the entomparasites and abused by animal the entomparasites of 3 quarters of lifespan and now overtaken by the combined forces of entomparasites and parasites. The Nigerian states are in pattern and or, God forbid, the impact will shape the world. Mr. Vice Chancellor, ladies and gentlemen, I want to submit here today that any individual in a position of trust who, instead of carrying out the aspirations of the people, has prepared by the masses to do what is right and just, but engages in self-enrichment at the expense of the system is a parasite. Mr. Vice Chancellor, ladies and gentlemen, what should we do? So this parasite is no longer kill us today, but hard and fast. I believe we have to kill the parasite before they exterminate all of us. What best to take the balance of guns to get rid of the parasite, for what people need to alienate that have decimated our nation is a task from which everyone must be involved. However, it must be a practical approach, top to bottom, if it is to be effective. I have shown in this lecture that the parasites are a menace of profitable animal production and revenue of humans. I've also investigated that human parasites are the greatest threat to national development, highlighted the consequences of their parasitic actions, and provided panacea to the problems of parasites. Mr. Vice Chancellor, meaningful research can only be conducted in a secure and peaceful environment. Our pattern applications was never submitted due to insecurity and due to restlessness in some parts of the country. Some years ago, it's a testament. So government authorities should take the issue of security very seriously and do everything within their powers and loss of land to secure our nation. Governments should forget the notion that Nigeria can develop from the top. No nation will transfer its technology to other nations. As Nigerians, we have to develop and grow our own technology, and this can only be achieved through innovative and cutting-edge researches, which will need adequate funding, infrastructures, staff development, and state-of-the-art facilities. Mr. Vice Chancellor, with inadequate academic and technical staff for our programs, coupled with consistent underfunding, interest to the survival and development of our universities, any talk of them becoming world-class institutions will be a challenge. Nigeria is a blessed country with enormous potential to be greater than any country in the world. She is what you see, she is today, a better and decimated nation because of parasitism. It is certain that Nigeria will return to its glorious past if these parasites are eliminated. According to it, I am grateful for my God. Please come among the people and be so gracious and listen to him and join him and to his only begotten Son Jesus Christ, my Lord and my Savior, whose mark I bear. I'm grateful to my dear friends, Mr. J.O Adejinmi, Mrs. Monroe, and Mrs. Adejinmi for bringing me to this world, and to my lady camera and Mrs. Comfort who took over my company and tender agent for 3 years after the death of my mother. Today, I dedicate this letter. Thank my dear brother, my brother, and my daughter Adejinmi, my sisters, Olubuka Yusuf, Professor Dina, and Fungali partners. I'm grateful to my parents, seniors, Mr. Johnson, and Mrs. Granada, for taking me as their son. To all my brothers and sisters-in-laws, their wives and husbands, for their support and assistance. I love you all. I appreciate my brothers and their wives, young Dr. retired, Prince, Justice Martin, and his state wife, Mrs. Rachel Brown, so rest in peace. G. Emmanuel Joe, Mr. Adesina, my sister, Princess Mrs. Victoria Kola, and her late husband, Prince Edina, and Daniel Kola, whoever, and so rest in peace. Mrs. Ololu, Dr. Kola, Professor Eno Adesina, Mr. Emmanuel Dayo, Mr. Leto Adesina, and the College at Koko, in Power State. Posthumous appeal to my current aunts and brothers for their contributions when they were alive. Princess Mrs. Tricia Victoria Kola, late Princess Edina, Honorable Yola, Adegoyola, and the Waterline Karola, with their soul blessed peace. I'm grateful to the families of Prince and Princess Solalukwe, Mr. and Mrs. Akinalatu, Edina and Dr. Mrs. Salu, Professor Mrs. Oromoeti, and Dr. Mrs. Sogo, Miss Lagwa, and Mrs. Akoto, for their love for the family. Together after that later. Thank all my members of the support and care. I thank Dr. Adejinmi, former director of the Veterinary Services for assistance and support when I was in civil service. Posthumous thanks to Dr. Mrs. Christina former director of the Veterinary Services of the State, who had the assumption of duty as a member of Canada, advised and appointed to go to the study. Posthumous gratitude also from my mentor, Mr. J.O Adejinmi, who supervised all my academic and professional samples. May their souls rest in peace. Also thank all my teachers, and join my graduate and postgraduate learners, and finally grateful to members of my spiritual family, Pastor and Pastor Mrs. Joseph, Pastor Mrs. S.A. Pastor Mrs. S. Pastor Mrs. Olori, elders, Reverend and Reverend Mrs. God bless you. Never tell me where to die. Papa never knew that man at all. No, members of the Covenant Church, Nemo Center, and New Covenant Church worldwide, St. Michael Anglican Church of Kuku, just faculties of our daughter and non-necessary schools. I lack words to tell and fact and share to my friends, many of them are reality, classmates and colleagues who the Lord has sent to me, accompanied together in my journey, particularly as a journey, Major Memorial College of Law, Teaching College of Law, and Master of Law. Friends and colleagues in Kwara State, Ministry of Agriculture and Natural Resources of York and Osun State, professional colleagues and friends at Federal University of Agriculture and Agriculture, University of Agriculture and Agriculture, among the universities that as well as Federal University of University of Agriculture and University of Law. I thank J.O Adejinmi for the public to the tech faculty today and the entire staff of Faculty of Medicine for their support for this station. And we still really encourage in fact the Vice Chancellor of the brother and friend for his strong support for me. He was stated the director of the Department of Academic and Project Transporting into departments and ensure that the new department will come through. Also thank his team, Deputy Vice Chancellor of Administration, Dr. Payroll Adewale, Deputy Vice Chancellor of Academic, Dr. A. Adenitor, Deputy Vice Chancellor of the South University and Security Partnership, Dr. Oladeke Adeniyi for their support and assistance members. I thank all the executives of ASU, past and present, and all the other members, the academic, technical, and administrative staff in the departments of Veterinary Parasitology and Entomology and Veterinary Mycology. Thank you all for your strong support and necessary contributions, particularly running my state as head of department. I thank my colleagues and staff in the Faculty of Veterinary Medicine. I thank also F.O. Olayemi, J.O Adejinmi, A.B. Sada, Doctors A.B. Ayode, Olufunke Davis, I.O. Assis, Dr. Akeraji, and Kumini Naba for their suggestions and input into today's lecture. I also thank Mr. Akiyega Ajala, Peace, Mr. Professor, Brother Listener, for that management. I appreciate the effort and sacrifices of members of the family committee for this lecture. I want to express my special appreciation to my grandmother, Olufunke Davis, the purchase God bless you. God bless you. For the children of God in our care, you need to learn and this is what to have. Thank you all for your support and patience. Finally, to everyone who has come, I say thank you. The Almighty God bless you and continue to be with you. We say, we reach and say upon you, and give us all the grace. I pray that you bless you, very mercy, back to the Lord.
This
Thank you.